broke a chair or something back there. I'm sorry. So when I graduated from high school, I knew exactly what I wanted to do forever. For the rest of my life, I wanted to do theater. I wanted to be involved in an industry where we told imaginary stories to people and pretended to be people with names like Lady Montague and Hedda Gabler and things like that. And so that's how everyone knew I was straight. And that's what I went to school for, to college for, theater. And by like my third year, I was getting some professional work. And that was kind of the point of going to school for theater, because no one cares if you have a degree, really, unless you want to teach. So there were a few other things going on, some of which I've talked about here before. And so I decided to drop out of school. So I didn't get my degree, but I mean, I was like, you know, mission accomplished. I'm professional theater work, that's great. And actually, even without a degree, I got a chance to teach some people. I taught some first-generation high school-age Puerto Rican kids in West Humboldt Park in Chicago, and I taught, it was a little scary, but it was awesome. And then I got to teach some like 5 to 8-year-old kids in the southern suburb of Chicago, and that was also scary, but awesome. And then just about 6 months ago, I was given an opportunity recently to teach like middle school-age kids. And they told me, we want you to teach is science and technology. And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do that. I have loads of experience. I took an Einstein physics class in college. I took chemistry, I can do that. And so what I ended up doing was coaching a FIRST Lego League. And this is, FIRST is an acronym that stands for now I'm going to forget, for Inspiration and Research of Science and Technology. That's right. And it's an international competition organization. And the Lego part of it means that you build robots out of Legos. And I didn't really know that when I first agreed to it entirely. But I thought, robotics, sure. I can do that, no problem. And Legos, I used to play with them all the time, sure. So we get set up with our team, and they're all kids from like this one lower income housing community, and they were like geniuses. It was really phenomenal. They blew me away every day. And so we get set up and they tell us, okay, there's 3 things you have to do. You have to do a research project on this year's theme. You have to identify a challenge and create a solution for it. And that year's theme was biomedical engineering. So I was like, yeah, great, another thing I'm an expert at, so no problem there. And then the next thing you have to do is you have to build a robot. Okay, I already knew that. And then you have to program it to perform autonomously tasks in a timed competitive element. And I was like, sure. And so the kids were like, no problem. And I was like, great. You're awesome. So they were geniuses again, and they jumped down and they were like, oh, that's how you program that because of the rotary motor. And I was like, I love it. That's amazing. And I'm like trying to teach them about EKGs and like things I would like the 2 days before be like, I need to hurry up and learn about nanobot cell destruction and complex bone repair so I can tell them about that tomorrow. And then it was like, thank you, Wikipedia. I might have told them wrong things. I don't know. And so then and so this started in like February, and they tell us, your competition is in September or October, we're not sure when, we'll tell you. Okay, great. So this woman emails us about 2 weeks into our whole thing, and she says, we know when the competition is going to be. And I'm like, awesome, when is it? And she says, it's in April. And I was like, great, okay. We'll do it. So I tell the kids, and they're like, why? Like, these kids are always like, why about everything? And I just said, well, the competition's just earlier, no big deal. We'll just work harder and do a great job. And they're like, all right. And then we got an email from her a week later where she said, hey, so actually you're not competing in a regular competition. You're actually competing in the World Festival, which is the final competition for the world. So it's 89 teams from 29 countries around the world. And my kids, and they've been to like multiple competitions where they've like rebuilt and refined their robots and their programs, and my kids are like, I mean, they've never even touched a Lego robot. So I tell the kids, and I'm like, because you're geniuses, and we know you're going to be ready, and you just do the best you can do. And they're like, all right, cool. And then we get an email from her a week later, and she's like, oh, and also, we need you to build a model of St. Louis in 50 years out of Legos. And so she brings me giant boxes of Legos, and it's like, have a great time. So I tell the kids, we have to do this, and they're like, why do we have to do that? I mean, these kids are like learning about complex cell destruction. They're learning about how to repair shattered bones. They're learning about how blood is drawn. Their research project, they decided they were going to like figure out how to deliver medicine to asthmatic children through a wristband that would deliver adrenaline in the case of an emergency and beep when an allergen is nearby. Like, so these kids are learning like insane things, and now they're like, and now a model. And so the kids are like, what about hydroponic farms? And I was like, yes, we built them. Seriously, a girl was like, I read about hydroponic farms, and I said, in the future, why not? And so they built this like killer model of St. Louis where like everything had solar power and there were wind farms on every roof, and they wanted like more hospitals that were smaller so there'd be less wait time for people who were sick. And they're, I mean, again, blew me away, total geniuses. And I was just like, I can draw a map of it. That's what I can do. I'll take pictures so we know where it goes. And then we get an email, and the organization I was doing it for was like, oh hey, we really want you to come a week before the competition and show your model off to our board and some donors. And I was like, well, it's not going to be done completely. And they were like, we know you'll have it done. So you know what that means. And so we got it done, and the kids were like, no problem. And like donors are coming up being like, what's that cute building? And they're like, that's a complex hydroponic farm. Let me explain how hydroponics work. And the donors were again blown away. I was so amazed by these kids. And we get to the World Festival, and I gotta be honest, we got there and the kids just froze. They were terrified. Because all of a sudden they're around all these teams that are like, I mean, professionals. Like, kids have been doing it for years and years. And they're here and they're like, we've never competed. And I was like, no one knows. It's going to be fine. And they really sucked it up. And we had some ups and some downs. We had like, all the programming was erased from both of our robots minutes before our first round. That was crushing. And I went out there with the kids. And by the way, this is, televised. In the convention center, on a giant screen for everyone to see. And the kids are like, we can't do anything. And I was like, just pretend, and when it goes the wrong way, be like, what? And that is what they did. They looked at the ref who was like, what's going on? And they were like, we don't know. Robots, who knows? So they really owned it, and we had a few kid meltdowns, and like 1 or 2 coach meltdowns. There was me running to a hotel at one point, and the homeless man was like, hey, can I get money? And I was like, I have robots, there's not time for you. A guy tried to sell one of our kids alcohol, and I was really like, oh, what's going to happen? And the kid was just like, I don't drink and I don't do drugs, mister. And I was like, you are the best. It was awesome. So actually, I've just recently made the decision that I'm going to go back to school and get my degree, and I'm going to become a teacher. I'm going to teach science. Hooray for me not finishing my degree the first time. But what really inspired me to that was this moment near the very end when this one kid, Alec, who was like the programming genius. He got in there and figured it all out. And Alec is a 12-year-old boy, and he was the one who was saying all along, like, hey guys, we really need to work harder so we know what we're doing. And he was the one who, when everything was deleted, was saying, we need to work as a team. And he was the one who, when everyone was freaking out, said, we need to work smarter, not harder. He was, brilliant kid. His mom came to me one day and she said, what are you doing to Alec? And I was like, well, hopefully I'm just teaching him, be inventive and ingenious and creative, and what's wrong? And she said, Alec is in a lot of behavioral disorder programs at school. He's not in normal classes at all, and he's never done well. And she said, since he started this, he comes home every night and does his homework immediately, and he talks about how he has to work really hard to make you feel good about him. And actually, also, I will say this, the kids gave me, they called me Mr. K, and then whenever they started liking me, they called me Mr. KG, for like G. You know? And then I was just Mr. OG eventually, which was awesome, which is like the highest rank of G. And so she said, he's more focused than he's ever been, and all his grades are improving, and he likes school. And when his sister is late to practice for the Lego thing, he tells her that she's bad, and she has to be on time. Otherwise, he'll be disappointed. Or me and another coach. It wasn't just me. The other coach was amazing too. And she said, so whatever you're doing, keep doing it. And I was so stunned because she said this to me at a time when I felt really bad. I felt like I'm not a person who should be teaching children science. I'm a terrible teacher. These kids, I'm like struggling to explain what an EKG is to them. Why am I doing this? And so I was so stunned by what she said. And I didn't get to respond, because she was like, well, bye, But if I had, I can tell you exactly what I would have said to her. And I would have said, you tell your son to keep doing whatever he is doing, because I know it looks like I'm doing a lot. It looks like I'm helping. It looks like I'm giving a whole lot to him. But that's not the case. It's the opposite. When the kids, and especially her son, listened and was open to what I said and to what I did, he helped me. This is maybe going to sound really like, it's about me, but he helped me in ways that were bigger than I could ever have helped any of those kids. And it's sort of like the thing that inspired me to now change my entire career path from theater and go to teaching was that it's not that I want to go help the kids, it's that they're amazing to me because whenever they allow people to teach them, anyone, or help them, what I get out of it is way more than what those kids could ever get out of anything that I have to offer.